Welcome to 11-12. This is our 6th year, starting our 6th year together. And it feels like it's gone by like that. It's been a flash, but been professionally and personally so rewarding to work with you all, with the students that we have, the alums and our board and members of the community, those in the legislature across all the term of art, the stakeholders for Grand Valley State University. I did want to first off recognize we have 3 board members here. Our board chair, Noreen, is here. We also have David Hooker, and in the back we have Kate Pugh Walters. Thank you for joining us. And it's kind of a neat statement because I'm going to be talking about the next 50 years, so to speak. But I think Bill Sieben and others back in 58, 59 would look ahead, and I think they would be pleased to know that one of our alums is the chairman of the board. So that's pretty neat. Mentioned we had a great deal of work this summer. And I'll tell you, I would call from facilities to financial aid and take it all the way around again. It was a very active time. In fact, I know that we tore up the campus and put it back together. And boy, doesn't it look great out there? Really does. So. In fact, it was kind of fun. I was chatting with Natalie Cleary, the new President of the Student Senate. And she said when she came in under the arch and we had the new stoplight there and all the landscaping and all, she said, I felt like I was coming into a village. And I think that was a great way to describe what we have accomplished here, creating that village atmosphere for all of us to succeed. And during the convocation address, it's going to be a little bit different, where I'm going to focus in on that notion of success for our students. But let me start off with a quick story, and this was kind of fun. I was traveling back from South Dakota. I was doing an accreditation visit at the University of South Dakota. And as many of you know, I will represent, as my daughter would say, wherever I go. During the summer, I wear my golf shirts, and then during the winter, I wear my sweatshirt. Well, I did have my sweatshirt on, and this woman stopped me at the airport. And she goes like this, no hyperbole here. She said, Grand Valley State University right there. I said, yeah, with a smile. But she continued, she says, my niece just graduated from there. I said, well, that's nice. Where's she from? Detroit, she said. But here's the good news, she said. And she kept her hand up just like this. She said, and she has a job there in Grand Rapids at Spectrum Health. She's a nurse. But she was up there like this. But truly, when you think about these past years, that's a remarkable statement. I'm in South Dakota, and people are going like this. Okay? It was great to have that. Well, I'm going to take a little bit different tack today in the next probably about 45 minutes, and maybe a little bit less. But we've had, through last year, the celebration of our 50 years, and it was great. It was wonderful. And so many people coming together to celebrate our legacy, celebrate those who have made this place what it is and what it's becoming. And one person in particular led that, and that's Terry Losey. Terry, can you please stand and be recognized? It was a great celebration for all of us. And during that time, we had lectures about the next 50 years in the world, in the nation, in the state. No one did any for Grand Valley. So I said, oh, that's my job. So I'm going to start off our 51st year, kind of looking ahead, yes, we'll recognize in my words a little bit of the past, but I really do want to look ahead and describe to you what I think Grand Valley is and continues to become. And it's entitled GVSU 2.0, Grander Yet. And the paper is fairly extensive. I'm just pulling out some pieces of it to share with you as we have some time together, but it'll be out on the web later this afternoon. And it's a white paper that really describes maybe a question that was raised by Ken Burns. And what he said when he was here, he said, who are we? It's a provocative question. Who are we? Well, for 50 years, we are becoming, but who are we? And then one of our colleagues, Jim Sanford, answered the question, I think, very well when he was recognized by the Alumni Association. And Jim said, we're Grand Valley State University. Okay. We are hardworking, we're professional, and we're friendly. That was a good summary. You know, answering that question on who are we? Well, let's take those statements and run with them a little bit and really delve into the notion on who are we and who are we becoming. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to look back through the lenses of 2060 and then see if, in fact, that resonates with you all. Well, again, we're starting our 51st year here with returning students and new students, with returning faculty and new faculty, staff that's been working hard, and new staff that participates in the Grand Valley experiences here. But our first 50 years, as we really discovered, was a West Michigan success story. Some people came forward out of the private sector, the likes that you've heard their names time and again, Bill Siebman and others, and visualized a future state. They were driven really by wanting to keep talent here in West Michigan and provide economic vitality to the region. That was their motivation. And through these past 50 years, as we celebrated last year, it really is a success story. And I think it's a story of entrepreneurism at its best. Coming out of the business sector, they were able to establish maybe some of the foundational principles for this university. Well, our academics, of course, started with some experimentation, some innovation, the cluster colleges. We know about that history, and then we have made the changes appropriately to serve our region and our students. We went from Carroll's now to a very large big dig for the Marietta McPugh Library. You know, Boston didn't have anything over us with their big dig. And I'll tell you, it is great to have that. And again, I so appreciate the support that we got from KP Walters and her family in order to create this, don't you think? Well, again, we celebrated those 50 years with the modeling that we had. I was attracted here, 5.5 years ago with the notion of the interdisciplinary studies that go on here, and the integrated liberal arts education with the professions. All this coming out of 50 years, and of course, we have to understand the nature of the public-private partnerships that started us, continue to nurture us over these past 50 years, and I think will continue in the next 50 and longer. And through that, we have created internship opportunities. We have our foundation, which I think is second to none in the nation in support of our great university. We have advisory boards. All these folks coming together to impact, influence in a positive way what we're doing here at Grand Valley State University. Just for an example, I look at Mary Beth in her role as VP of Development. But in these past 50 years, we had almost $300 million raised through the private sector. And under her leadership, in the last 12, 200 raised. Congratulations. I was in 22 campaigns. Don and Mark and I have continued to try to nurture that, and was announced back in June of the comprehensive campaign where we went audaciously to 50 for 50, and we wound up with 93.5 in 5 years. So wonderful statement of the confidence that the private sector has in us. And little did we know back in 1958, 1960, that their decisions would now create something that's providing in the Tri-County region $680 million per annum economic impact. Matt and company highlight that, and I think that again is remarkable. Over 10,000 jobs, and we know that that's the four-letter word that's operative in today's lexicon. And Matt, with all your efforts in bringing those messages forward, I do appreciate that as well. But it's that public-private partnerships. Well, why? Well, I think this university over the past 50 years was driven by outcomes, driven by results, driven by those types of activities as an entrepreneurial university, because we plan, we prepare, and then we perform. We plan, prepare, and perform. The essence of driven towards outcomes. And in order to do that, we created this campus. We created downtown. We have sites in Traverse City and in Holland, Muskegon, and there's even a small boat ramp for those in the Coast Guard that really appreciate this in Grand Haven. You know, I have 2 floating assets. And in fact, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to have a third coming up with the wind energy project. I've seen the work here associated with over at the Merrick. And I started my career on the Great Lakes doing buoys. Almost, well, let's see, 1973. It's almost 40 years ago, right? I'm ending my career in buoys in the Great Lakes. Something, Marcia, what do you think about that? It's pretty remarkable. So we're gonna do that as well. But we are, through that 50 years, I think one of the things that come out loud and clear is being responsive to the region's needs. Okay, talent. We have over 80,000 alums now, and probably 60,000+ living here in West Michigan. But what we really established, I think, in these past 50 years are our core values. Okay? No doubt about it. I think our core values. And I'll share those with you because this is the essence of the past 50 years and how we create then the environment, the atmosphere to go forward. Liberal education, excellence in teaching, active scholarship and research, a service-oriented culture, inclusion, commitment to our communities, and sustainable practices. That's the value structures that we have established in these past 50 years. That's what we can embrace as Grand Valley State University. This is who we are and who we're becoming. Well, the next 50 years, let's turn the page a little bit. And I do believe fully in this notion of being grander yet. But we're still young. We are still such a young university. We're kind of like our students in that regard. We're young. We're impressionable. We tried different things. And we will continue to have that particular focus as a young university. But we are a lot like our students. We are needing both some stability and the ability to change. That's what our students, have as their needs, and I think we have as a young university the same: stability and adaptability to the changes. So what are we becoming in these next 50 years? Well, we've already been noticed around the nation as one of the top regional institutions, but what we're really becoming, in essence, is what we have been all along: Michigan's entrepreneurial university. Yes, the Carnegie points this out as we're masters large. Well, that's inside baseball jargon, right, Gail? Comprehensive is still there. I still like the notion of comprehensive. But in essence, we're taking those value structures for the last 50 years and going forward. So what are we becoming? I think just that: one of the top regional universities in the nation. What does it mean? Well, it's this new model that we have established over these past 50 years as an entrepreneurial university. And we can continue to understand that creativity and excellence and an entrepreneurial culture will continue to propel the ideas forward. We can be the role model for that type of institution as we focus in on the next 50 years. So we answered the question: what are we becoming? What does it mean? But the more fundamental question, of course, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, from some national sources, the Spelling Commission, for instance, points out that universities across the nation need to be more nimble, more efficient, more effective. We'll check those off. The Kauffman Foundation, through Carl Schramm, through what's called the Entrepreneurial Imperative, a great book that I received from a member of the foundation. And he says, we need to make learning of entrepreneurism part of the experience. And you know, we've been doing that for 50 years. You know what it's called? Liberal education. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's the habits of mind and heart through liberal education to give us the skills for success. It's lifelong learning and leadership. That's what it's about. Well, if we have this understanding of who we are and why it's important, so we need to play to our strengths. Just as the coach in me says, let's create the best team we can and then go out there and win a ball game. Okay? Well, we do have the essence, the DNA, I call it, of an entrepreneurial university. We're there, but we need to take it up a notch. And this is where I come in as a chemist. And in chemistry, when we teach freshman chemistry, one of the toughest concepts is called limiting reagents. And limiting reagents, you can actually figure this out mathematically, that once something runs out, you can't go and produce any more. That's a fundamental principle. And I teach that, and I've taught it for 37 years. Limiting reagents. However, there's the theory of limetry that I think violates that, because what you can do is you can tweak. That's a good chemistry term. You can tweak the conditions maybe to get more yield out of what you are already doing. So yes, I teach limiting reagents, and if you just do the math, that's what it is. But if you really embrace the notion that you can, in fact, tweak and create even a better product, more of a product, I was, in my chemistry, I was always wanting to increase my yields. And I remember a couple times getting very frustrated because, you know, I didn't change the conditions, and I got the same yield time and again. And I finally figured it out. That doesn't work. Okay? And when I finally said to my boss, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to change the model and the paradigm, he said, now you have become a real scientist. Now that you have really expanded your horizons a little bit. So remember, it may not be what I teach for 37 years to the freshman chemist on being limiting reagents, but if you look at the theory of limetry and then tweak the conditions, you might be able to discover even more. As Carly Simon puts it, a horizon is nothing save the limit of our sight. I thought that was a pretty neat way to put it. Well, what are the pillars of our DNA? Well, pulling from current and looking at the future, I think we've mentioned some of those already: sustainability, and inclusion, community collaboration. Other pillars have to be, in my mind, student focus. That's what we're about here. It's job one. It deals with access. It's service, preparing the best talent that we have coming here. And boy, oh boy, is it ever. In the startup meetings, I said time and again, when I get dipped in optimism, when I get 140 students at our home for an RA picnic. That really is the best and the brightest, and they're great role models for the rest of the students we have here, both at the graduate and the undergraduate level. Culture of excellence. I go about the nation with accreditation visits. I've done it for 25 years. But I'll tell you this, I can affirm to you today, because it's not going to change tomorrow either, and it has been a founding principle, we have a culture of excellence in all that we do. It truly is, in all that we do. And why do I say that? Because a culture of excellence attracts the best. It attracts the best students, it attracts the best staff, and attracts the best faculty. That, to me, is a culture that we can really embrace here at Grand Valley State University. Leadership is another pillar of that DNA, I call it. We're making things happen. We have our centers of excellence. This is all dealing with leadership, though. I already talked about Merrick. Oh, we have the Annis Water Resources Institute. We have the Johnson Center, with the Hallenstein Center. We have others. And why do I mention this? Because they're relevant to our region, and it is our leadership that's being exhibited day in and day out. And I think part of our DNA is being efficient and effective. We're affordable to the extent we can be, and we're effective to the extent that we always will be. We focus in on doing the most important things with the resources that we have and delivering results. Remember I said before about the outcomes approach that we take in these past 50 years? That's what it is. It's those results that we achieve day in and day out in our respective areas of responsibility. And when everyone takes this notion that I say time and again, do the best you can with what you have, it's remarkable what kind of results you can achieve. Those are the outcomes that we can be very proud of. It actually fosters that culture of excellence. Well, how do we shape this GVSU 2.0, this entrepreneurial university for the future? Well, let's continue to tweak the model. We have the core principles and values. We have a culture of creativity and excellence, and maybe a little bit really with a formula that I want to share with you as well. But as a university, we need to continue to anticipate and adapt to the changes that are around us. In fact, I think more to the point, not just adapt to the change, let's lead it. That's what the next 50 years is all about. Let's lead the changes necessary to create what we need for our state and our nation. Thorpe and Goldstein said, challenge conventional wisdom by synthesizing the information, communicate, and keep an open mind. It's all through a liberal education. And you know, we are challenging that conventional wisdom and all, I think, again, through the Mary Ida Pugh Library. And that's going to happen in 2013, right here on this campus, and the Seidman Center downtown, as we look ahead in challenging the conventional wisdom. But here's the plan, and it's simple, the 3 R's. We talked about the 3 R's in education. Well, my 3 R's, it's relevance, rigor, and return on investment. Relevance, and I can also even say responsiveness here. We're working in the community with a group called Talent 2025. It's a combination of CEOs from the business community in a 9-county area in West Michigan, along with college and university presidents from the community college, the independent, and the public university sectors all working together. Actually, I call it pretty neat because I've been talking this for a few years now. It's the 31-131 corridor. And if we can bring this together, again, through the public-private partnerships in business, that's great. So we're working with that. The Kellogg Foundations. Relevance. Well, it's the Kellogg Foundation, Woodrow Wilson, Michigan Teaching Fellowship for Math and Science Teachers. Talk about something relevant to be part of, most definitely in my mind. Maybe some of you heard about the reverse articulation agreement we have with GRCC, and that's where we can help with the credentialing of our folks who come from CC, maybe after a year or two, maybe just didn't check off that box and get an associate's degree. We can help those students out too. And I think the charter school activity we have across the state, again, is driven by excellence. In fact, we have schools of excellence. 15 out of our 50 schools are in that category. Again, it's relevance to our region and to the rest of the state. In terms of rigor, there was a question at the CLAS about rigor in the classroom. There's no doubt in my mind that our students are here to reach their potentials, to draw them into another sense of their reality and their own self-worth. And we do that in our classrooms and outside our classrooms with rigorous academic programs and co-curricular activities. And I think that that's very important to understand that of my 3 R's, rigor stands out in my mind. And we have, again, good examples of this. We have the fully integrated MBA program that's going to be very future-oriented. It's rigorous and will provide a great deal of return to our students. We have the Intercultural Competence Certificate. That's the first one of its kind in the state of Michigan, and that will provide the skills and the habits of mind and heart to go forward as we look ahead over the next 50 years. I'm really thrilled with the integrative healthcare program in nursing, which brings together PT and OT and PA and social work all together in a very interdisciplinary way. And I do appreciate the conversations in general education, because what we are looking at, and I know Gail is really with governance, leading this out there, because it really is the skills necessary, the behaviors necessary, the character necessary as we look ahead in our general education. And again, liberal education coming through loud and clear within the context of liberal education, and how that then is so useful in the professions that we have to offer here, those professional programs. Well, it is problem solving and teamwork and integrating and synthesizing ideas, inclusion and global reach and others. And that whole notion of knowledge integration was shared at a meeting that I was at on Monday too. It's taking the critical thinking skills and ramping it up even more. And that's what we're doing here. But let's execute on some of these. And return on investment, we mentioned that we're doing much here in terms of accountability and a return on investment, and sharing those ideas and thoughts and discoveries with those in decision-making roles. Yes, there's been challenges. In fact, with the continued disinvestment of the public into public higher education, where we now have 14% of our budget being supported, that we made a bold statement with the support of the board that the state appropriation we get can be budgeted towards 2 items and 2 items only, and that is for debt retirement and for financial aid. Everything else is tuition. We are becoming a tuition-driven institution, AKA private-like, but nonetheless, that's the new modeling as we look ahead. But we have to continue to then model the behaviors associated with that transitions over these next years. And so we have created our own dashboard for decision-making. We have the accountability report that we'll be putting out again this fall. We look at accreditation processes, both for the region and within the disciplines, and the 23 disciplines themselves are accredited. And again, a return on investment is using the prepare, plan, and perform model that I described to you before, part of the essence of our past 50 years. But let me add a couple of notes to those 3 Ps. We have to add measure, assess, change, and innovate. Okay? We must add measure, assess, change, and innovate. And in our strategic plan, 2010 to 2015, we have created the agency to do that. Well, let's look ahead. 2060. What are we going to look back at? What's the success factors that will determine where we are in 2060? Of course, I chose 2060 because that's when we can look back, when Terry looks at creating the 2060 100-year celebration. Right, Terry? Okay. Well, projecting the next 50 years is kind of like predicting yields of corn in the Allendale cornfields. Okay? Who was to know that we were going to be part of that yield 50 years later? There was some seeds planted here, and we are part of that yield. But it is difficult to predict that future. But I do know that this, in the next 50 years, and when we look back at 2016, we'll be a different institution in a way, but maybe not. Maybe we will take the essence of being Michigan's entrepreneurial university and really, really be that most relevant institution that we could ever have been in these next 50 years. But let me just share a couple of perspectives then from the celebration we're going to have in 2060. 100 years. We have just celebrated 100 years at Grand Valley State University. We've known the names of Bill Siebman and Bob Pugh and others. We've heard of those names. They're names on our buildings. There's names for our centers. But 100 years, what's our legacy, and how do we go forward yet then in 2060? Well, here's my take on that, my vision of that. We will still have youthful enthusiasm. Remember it said before that we are young, we're kind of like our students? It's great to have that youthful enthusiasm when we're celebrating our 100th birthday. And actually, at that point, I think we'll be just hitting our prime as a university. Still young, but those 100 years are 100 years of successes. And we will have firmly established our entrepreneurial culture that's embedded here in the rest of the state. And we will take, in those 50 years back, we will take even bolder risks, be more flexible, and quicker to adapt to and lead that change necessary. We'll have productive partnerships with our business communities, both profit and not-for-profit, with K through 12, and starting at early childhood, and going all the way through to lifelong learning. We'll have great relationships with our community colleges and other higher educational institutions in the same business as we are, both in the public and the private sector. And we will be the leader in technological applications. We will be known as a place that is exciting, and people want to come. Well, number 2, we have built it, and they will come. Okay? A little bit of Field of Dreams. And being in Iowa, as we have been, I can relate to that. Marcia was born in Iowa. She can relate to that. But by 2060, traditional students and adult learners will actually clamor to be part of the Grand Valley magic, Tom Butcher. Okay? That magic will be here when we celebrate 100 years. We will have an educational model and a campus experience unparalleled in the Midwest. The best and the brightest students will line up for admissions, and our standards will remain high because we want those students to be fully engaged in the learning process with our faculty and staff. And they will engage in the creating of their own entrepreneurial spirit. And they're going to be able to succeed in a rigorous and supportive environment. And then they will be successful as alums as they lead our world in 2060 and beyond. And we will continue to so appreciate our public-private partnerships and be able to provide a Grand Valley education to everyone who qualifies, regardless of their financial circumstances, and that's going to be fueled by our alums and others in the community. Number 3, our horizons will have expanded. We will have a much more diverse student body, and it'll be consistent with our strategic planning over these past 50 years as we celebrate the 100th birthday, and we'll see a steady increase of domestic minority applications. And our international student population will double, if not more, in the interests for this university. And the activities inside and outside of the campus will continue to explode with excitement. And we'll send a record number of students yet abroad with very specific focus areas of their interest. And they will have these multicultural experiences to be successful when they come back home here to Michigan. Number 4, alumni will rally. Long before we hit 2060, we'll hit a critical mass of alumni, achieving maybe within the next 5 years, 100,000 grads. I think, Mary Beth, around 2017 is what I predict, okay? And by 2060, we'll have 350,000 alums. That's when we look back and celebrate the impact of this university. In West Michigan, our alums will be pervasive, partnering with us on every level and strengthening the culture that they have helped to build. They support the university financially, and they follow their levels of engagement with helping our students achieve what they need to do to be successful. And they will work side by side with our non-alum communities as well, as we continue to be relevant to the needs of our state. And their alums will send their children and their grandchildren here in record numbers, and we'll have this legacy of entrepreneurial learning that goes on. And in fact, we were in Grand Haven to celebrate the Coast Guard Day and met some of my friends and colleagues there. But as I was leaving, there was a gentleman, I think he's a commissioner in Spring Lake, but he came up to me and said, "Dr. Haas, I wanted to tell you, I was in the first class at Grand Valley. I didn't graduate. I went on to U of M. I got my law degree, but I stayed right here in West Michigan. But I got to tell you this, my grandson's a sophomore." And he said it with so much pride. My grandson is a sophomore at Grand Valley State University. So they will come. They will rally. There's no doubt about it as we look ahead in these next 50 years and look backwards from 2060. Next, our reputation will open doors. Our students will be recognized as some of the most exciting leaders in the country, and I would dare say in the world. We will have some of the country's best students wanting to come here. Definitely the best students here in Michigan coming here. And it's not out of the realm of possibilities that with Rhodes and Fulbrights and Trumans and other scholarships, that'll be the norm coming from Grand Valley State University as we look at 2060. Our intercollegiate programs will be the exemplar for NCAA in creating people of character through the student-athlete model that we have. And the student performance in the arts will be second to none. And you'll hear one of those students at convocation here shortly. Our students will be second to none. And through our students, our reputation will be held in high esteem. And the university itself will gain prestige and acclaim through its successes as a model of excellence in higher education. We will be measured and assessed. And we will be measured and assessed because we have created an avenue to explore those ideas necessary to continue to be relevant. And we started off a little bit about the 50 years in terms of outcomes and results. We will continue to be outcomes-driven, results-driven. We will be transparent with our data and communications with all of our stakeholders as we continue to become the university that gets it done. I hear that time and again here, this past year, these past 5 years. Let's get it done. You can hear that through so many people. Let's get it done. And that's an essence of getting it done together. We will set an example of universities in the state, and we'll partner with our state government to power that new model of a public higher educational funding level that is outcomes-based. Hear that, Matt? Matt's going to help me on that. Our first half a century, we've been able to raise $300 million, Mary Beth. I think we can raise $600 million over the next 50 years. No doubt in my mind, because of who we are and who we are becoming. And finally, we will grow as a community of scholars. Our faculty and staff will share their knowledge more widely with national and international publications. They will inspire us yet to be innovative and create the culture necessary for us to be in these next 50 years. Bright students will continue to collaborate with their professors and push them on the ideas. I love it when I was teaching full-time, especially with undergraduate research, where I had students coming in to my labs and saying, why? Why? Not how. Why? And that pushes that nature of limetry so much in my mind. Grand Valley will be known for a place where learning and scholarship flourish. And this will increase yet our value to our region and state. I do have grand expectations. Looking ahead when we celebrate our 100th year, 100 years of impact, we're an entrepreneurial university. We have a distinctive niche amongst Michigan's higher educational institutions. And we will become and continue to be that change agent for higher education. And we will serve our students, we'll serve our communities in ways that we can't maybe even imagine as we continue to tweak the model. But I do know this, we will become even more valuable 50 years from now. And with a stable foundation, I think we're poised to launch something really significant, something grand as we head into our next 50 years. And in fact, I still continue to hum those words of our founders. And in 100 years, they'll still be humming them. What was that? High hopes. I can't sing, but I can hum. And in 100 years, whoever's up at this stage will be humming again because he or she will have those high hopes. I have those high hopes, and I have high expectations for Grand Valley that is going to be grander yet. So I think Grand Valley's journey is continuing in such a positive way. Yes, there'll be those challenges along the way in these next 50 years, but heck, we have a great track line built in to go forward so that we can celebrate in 2060 the accomplishments of what we are doing today and what we're going to be doing tomorrow and the tomorrows after that. I do believe so fully in my heart that we are going to be grander yet. Thank you, and God bless you all.